guys, welcome to Relatively Sane. Oh my God, I love recording a new episode. It's so exciting. I know I don't do it every week right now because, it's just a lot. I also have my podcast, Disgusting Hawk, which I hope you guys are listening to and watching. That is on my YouTube channel, which is Jessica Curson Comedy. It's really outrageous. I do characters and interview comedians and do solo bits also. And it's just silly. I know you guys love the silly stuff, so definitely check that out. Also, join my Patreon if you haven't already. You can pay $5 a month, $8 a month, and you see exclusive video footage of me behind the scenes, a lot of times with my kids, which is fun. And I'm going to be posting more stuff, which I don't post anywhere else. So if you already are a Patreon member, thank you so much for your support. And how is everyone doing? It's such a crazy time. I've realized that, a lot of people have been home for so long because of the virus and have been not going out, not around people. And then just like now everyone's just out. And I don't know, there hasn't been much of a transition. Have you noticed that? I've been doing a lot of shows. I kind of just went out and started performing. And I've been performing in the city a lot, and I've been on the road now. I'm going on the road more coming up. I have shows in Austin and Connecticut and Pennsylvania. I have a bunch of road gigs coming up. So if you go to my website, you'll see them all posted at jessicacurson.com. And it's been weird. Like sometimes I look out at audience members and people look shell-shocked. Like I literally have been saying to people, are you okay? I mean, you look like you need a little more time at home. You need to go take care of yourself a little. Like I'm concerned. Some of you look very upset or scared. So I'm like, maybe you need to get some help or get a little medicine or just take a little time to just, I don't know, do something before you're just out around people. It's weird. I mean, I'm doing some shows at the Comedy Cellar in New York City, which is great, but there's this plastic barrier in front of us and around us. It's kind of like performing in a telephone booth. That's the way I have to describe it. And it's strange. I have to admit, it's strange. I'm very connected to the audience. And as a lot of you know, I do crowd work. So it's weird to have this plastic box around me. I feel like, I don't know if a lot of you have been to Amsterdam, but there's this area where it's the red light district where these women stand in these storefronts and they, try to get men to come and, pay them and have sex with them. And I feel like a sex worker, like I'm just in this window performing. I mean, at least I'm not naked while I'm performing comedy. That would be horrible, I have to admit. Thank God I am covered in clothing. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. As usual, when I do these intros, I have no idea what I'm saying. I'm just talking. And I'm very tired right now. I was up very early with the kids and I'm feeding them. The twins are about to turn 2, so every single thing I give them, they're throwing off their trays. I was giving them bagel with cream cheese. They were throwing it all over the kitchen, giving them water. They're throwing it everywhere. iPads, throwing them everywhere. I actually should just put them on the floor and just throw everything on the floor and they'll just pick it up and eat it off the floor. And that's really what I should just start doing. It's like a barn. It's like they're animals and it's just a barn and they should just eat off the floor and that's it. It's just better that way. Life is not easy. That's what I'm trying to say. We're all having a hard time. We're doing the best we can. Do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. Just do the best you can. I'm proud of myself. I started exercising. It's the last thing I want to do, but I'm forcing myself to do it. I've been doing the treadmill. I blast music in my ears. I'm basically going to go deaf because I'm blasting techno music and disco and house music, all kinds of shit. So I can't even hear, but I'm anything to take my mind off of the exercise. I look at the numbers like a lunatic. I'm looking at the calories. Basically, I'm walking 2 miles now fast and I'm burning 46 calories. How does that even work? I mean, why am I not burning more calories? I don't understand. Can someone explain that to me? Okay. I love you all. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful that you listened to the polycast. What was that? That was a Freudian slip for sure. I just lost my breath from saying a sentence. That just shows you how out of shape I am. Thank you. Thank you for being a fan. Thank you for listening to Relatively Sane. Please spread the word. You're the best. You are. Join the Patreon. Follow me on Instagram, on Twitter. Go to my website. Check out the live shows coming up. You're going to love this episode. It's so great. I have Pete Holmes on today. He's amazing. I love you all. Take care of yourselves and have a great week. Well, let's start.
All right. I can't. We still haven't started. We still haven't. Oh, now we're recording. Oh, good. Because no fun has been had. Nothing that was organic or easy or natural was recorded. Let's begin. Well,
this is welcome. A mess.
Welcome to Relatively Sane with Jessica Kirsten. I'm your host.
I love that Jessica it's the name. Kirsten. This name has never meant so much, the name of this podcast, since right now. I've done 100 of these, and this one, the name is perfect.
Why?
What's because happening since we it started, but it started 10 minutes ago because for everyone, first of all, my guest today is Pete Holmes, who is one of my favorite people on earth.
And who was very funny for about 10 minutes before we hit record.
You're always funny.
But just so people know, there was a Tibetan sand sculpture that got swept away of humor and riffs and general rapport.
I'm going to tell them
genuine
what
rapport.
I'm going to tell them and we'll relive it. Just listen.
I guess that's our job. We relive things. That's what we do. It is. Comedians have genuinely funny thoughts and then they're like, I'll reheat this for the public.
I came on and he heard me, but I said, I can't hear. It was very panicked.
When you joined the Zoom, you became the soul of everyone who's confused by Zoom. And it came out in the most genuine, authentic, wounded, sort of infantile, but also elderly. I can't hear. It was both an old woman and a newborn baby. I can't hear. And it made me laugh so hard.
I can't hear.
Babies are kind of like old women
I've been saying that. They're the only people that are honest on earth are children and old people.
Oh, you're right. You're on.
Like, you're fat. And then old people are like, you look horrible. They're the only.
Oh my God. So, and they both of them say it while defecating. You don't look so good. It's like a pressed shit, like the kind of shit you can only make while you're seated in a chair. It's a pressed shit. That's like an imprint of your butt.
They can't express themselves. That's so true. They have to eat soft foods. It's very true. There's a lot in common.
It's a return.
I'm returning to that very quickly. I mean, I'm only 51, but I feel like I'm 90. Do you feel
you're an old 51. I'm just kidding. You look great. You're sharp as a whip. But yes, you and I've been 40 since I was 14. I couldn't wait to be 40. And now that I'm 40, I make sense in the world, but nothing has changed. I'm still the guy that's like at a concert during the encore. I'm like, we should go. If we go now, we'll beat the rush. Like that's.
I say that 2 songs in. I'm like, do you want to get going? I don't really want to sit in traffic.
Let's go. I had my overpriced hot dog. I heard what he sounds like. You know, here's the saddest thing I'll admit to you about going to concerts. I'm always sitting there going, sounds better on the album. Yeah, it sounded way better when they were in like a soundproof room
Of
doing each track
course.
perfectly over and over. And then, what is this rehearsal? I paid money for
I
like,
know. Oh,
like
I know.
do
And
it
I'm always
like the record.
and I always feel less than next to the person that knows every word and every beat of the drum. I'm like,
You
why? They know more than me. I feel horrible about
you
myself.
can't win. You can't win. Either I'll be next to someone who looks like they're not having fun, and I'm like, what's this
Right.
tight ass doing? Or I'm next to the three white wine Irvine white woman that's like dancing in a way that never made sense.
Right. Well, she's free. She
She's
doesn't
free.
free in life.
That'll threaten me, and I won't like that either. Like I'll envy it, but I'll be too out of touch with my emotions to know that I'm really envious of her freedom. So it'll just come out as fuck this woman.
Yeah,
And
you
fuck
hate
this-
her. I
like
know.
only every but if everybody at the concert was doing what I was doing, it would be the worst concert for the band ever. It would just be a bunch of stoic white men too tall to dance because I'm like a lighthouse, so
You
everybody
ever
can see me.
did
Everybody can see the
Lighthouse.
tall guy. A tall guy can't dance. Everybody sees the anonymity
Especially at
of
a
the short.
concert.
What's
You
that?
can't, especially at a concert. You can't
That's
dance.
right.
You'll take up all
That's
the
right.
room. You
I
can't do
could dance while seated. I can do like this. This is for us. Yeah, like a snap. I love a snap. That's for the tall. But if you ever go to a club and that feel, I've never been to a club. I'm assuming, but like the shadow, it's like a covering of trees. It's like you're shrouded by other people, so you can stick your tongue out and like get all funky. That's a short person privilege. Check your privilege. The very tall.
That's
The
true.
other people are down here, and if I do any dumb move, I look like I look like a background dancer in a Will Smith video. Not
Yeah, it's not good. What was your first concert?
that's one of those. I don't know. It was probably going with my dad to see Dan Fogelberg or something
I
like that.
love him.
Oh my God, you
I do.
are. Yes.
Yeah.
The episode is called "An Old 51." That's the episode title because you love Fogelberg. I don't remember that except I thought it was so lame. I bet I would love it now. Just like relaxing. I love a
You
seated
would.
concert. A seated concert is my shit.
Oh my God. A seated concert is
Love a
the
seated.
best.
Seated. What do I work for you? I have to stand up? Like, are you Tinkerbell? You run on my energy? I paid good money. Play your songs. I'll be here.
They should have lay down concerts.
I would love. They do. It's called Deadheads and Fish concerts.
Yeah,
That's.
I used to follow the Dead.
I
I was,
mean,
yeah.
I wish I had. I didn't get into psychedelics till later though, so their music post psychedelics makes more sense to me.
Pete,
Before,
I love you. Let me explain what's happening. First of all, I was in the market buying ice cream for my 5.5-year-old, and she
yes.
was in a nasty mood. And I thought that we were recording this an hour later because I have 17 kids and I'm out of my mind.
You're always being airlifted places. There's lots of drama. There's airlifts. There's
Oh
12
my
children.
God. And she's like, Mama, I want the balloon with the teddy bear. And I'm always afraid to say no because my parents were not around. So I'm like, Bella, that's for Mother's Day. It says Happy Mother's Day. It's this huge teddy bear. I'm like, I cannot get that for you. And she's like, I want it. I'm like, oh my God, if I don't get it for her, she's going to be fat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
You'd rather her be thin and very ill
oh, I
behaved.
bought 10 of them so that
Yeah.
she's thin. So, anyway,
Oh my God! Be like the balloon. Be beautiful and empty inside. That's what we want.
that is hysterical.
You know,
Beautiful and empty inside is
very
amazing.
good. I'm very good.
That's a great analogy. I'm sorry, but that was quick. So,
It's your line. That's your line. If you
That's
tell this story
incredible.
on stage,
Thank
I
you.
I will not use it. It's freely gifted
Thank
to
you.
you.
That
It's
was
your
a
bit.
beautiful line.
It's your bit.
So, and then I get a text like, "Are you coming on the show?" I'm like, "Oh my God." So now I'm rushing her in hostel and she starts crying because she wants the fucking teddy bear. I was having a nervous breakdown in the middle of Cherry Valley,
I.
the name of the market.
That's the name of your
Yeah,
memoir, A Breakdown
Cherry
in the Middle of
Valley.
Cherry Valley.
I drove
I'm with
90
you.
miles
When
an hour. I didn't even strap her in. I was like, we have to get to Pete Holmes. Yes.
I'm glad you risked life and limb. When I take my daughter, she's 2.5.
I can't believe she's 2.5. Tell
I
me what's
know.
happening. You have a
I
baby
know. She's a
girl.
baby girl. Well, she's the best. We just took her to the beach. She's the best. She
Oh.
plays with anybody that she sees. She goes like this now. She goes, "Where's kid?" She's looking for other kids. Where's kid? Like she just wants any kid. Anybody
Oh,
new, like go and meet them and play with them and share with them. She can be a little possessive too, but that's totally normal. She's just learning the idea of possession. But
yeah.
what was I going to tell you? Oh, when we go to the supermarket, I'm like you. She'll see like a dog toy and she just goes, she's just the kid that now every time she goes to the grocery store, she knows she gets some little toy. And
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care. Like, I
I
think I'm
don't
supposed to
either.
be like, go pull the weeds or something. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm just like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Sometimes I'm just like, we're all here. Who cares? Like, I
Yeah,
don't
she's
care
just a
if
little
she goes to,
tchotchke.
yeah, little tchotchke. You taught
I,
me that term on crashing. You taught me that.
yeah, I did.
Remember? You
That's so
said, "Oh,
funny.
look at the little tchotchkes."
Oh,
I mean,
tchotchke, tchotchke, yeah. I think I just called it the wrong name. I'm
I think
losing my mind.
an old 51. You said tchotchkes or tchotchkes,
It's
one or the other.
tchotchke, yeah, whatever.
And I didn't know that. And that's one of the like shots they used of me laughing. It's because you were explaining what tchotchkes were. I thought tchotchke was like somebody on Leave It, Welcome Back Kotter or something. I thought that was like one of the characters on Welcome
Cast
Back Kotter.
member?
Yeah. Yeah, I played tchotchke. There was Travolta. His character was just called Travolta. Or he's up your nose with a rubber hose. That was his character's name. People don't know that. And then there was Tchotchke. And Mr. Cotter was never on the show. It's sort of like Maris on Frasier. You never saw him.
Right. There was Schmutz, Meshuggah.
Schmutz, Schmutz, Meshugs, Meshuggies. All the yids. Yeah,
The
oh, you
last
shouldn't say yids. I'm sorry. I was just trying to abbreviate
Oh,
Yiddish. I said
please, you know
yids.
what? Don't worry about it.
But
I'm
that was very innocent. I didn't even know that was. Sometimes I'll say there's certain words that have double meaning, but could like spade. Like one time I said spade in a way on
what
stage.
why can't you say that?
Spade, it's the black, like a playing card. It's black, so you might call a black person a spade. Obviously, I
I've
would not.
never heard that.
But
Okay,
I
good
was
to
telling a
know.
story on stage,
Yeah.
and I said that it's the story of a plane, a very turbulent plane I was on, and I said the steward came into the aisle. He was a black man, and then I go, I think he was gay. Like it's not important, but he was just kind of red effeminate. Maybe he wasn't gay, but he was just kind of prissy. Prissy, is that okay? I don't know how to talk about this. He was effeminate,
I mean, to me,
and
it's fine, and I'm gay. I don't know.
I do feel safer in the bubble of your gayness. I will
Right.
say
I
that.
don't. To me, Prissy's fine, but maybe this. I think someone might get upset about that now. I
Yeah, I
don't
think
know.
so. I think, well, people used to say
What do you?
sissy, and I would be offended by that. I was like, don't say
Prissy's
sissy.
different.
Sissy's bully language. I don't like
Right,
that.
but prissy is an adjective. I mean, it's
Pris,
literally just
like,
saying someone's like feminine.
and we haven't even gotten to the part where I was offensive accidentally, and I'm being accidentally offensive as I'm telling the story about the time I was accidentally offensive. But I said, I think he might have been gay, and people laughed, and I was like, I don't know, I'm just calling a spade, and I didn't know that spade was a term for black people until like afterwards. Someone was like, well, you're like, well, I'm just calling a black guy, and I was like, they weren't upset because they knew, like when I
Right, that
said
you.
yid, I'm just abbreviating words all the time. I don't know, like. There's certain words that I'm like, you're taking the fun out of language.
I
Like,
know.
like if I call someone a Hebrew friend Heb just because I'm like abbreviating everything, like fuck you. I want that.
I
Racists
know.
ruin everything.
How are you feeling about your stand up with this right now? Because I have my own feeling about it, but how are you feeling? Like, are you nervous about saying? I can see you being nervous because you're such a kind, loving,
You're sweet.
innocent person. You are. I'm not saying it to be, I mean, you are. You're a
Well, I
very
hope. I
loving,
hope.
kind person. So the last thing you'd want to do is offend anyone.
Yeah. Well,
Are you worried?
that can
You-
almost verge into dysfunction. Like I was sort of ahead of the curve in terms of wanting people to like me, wanting
Right.
everyone to get along. It has a
Yeah.
lot to do with growing up religious. It has a lot to do with just the role that was imposed on me by my family. I was always sort of putting out their fires.
Right.
So I tried for a really long time to do a stand-up bit about how Christians or people that were raised fundamentalists we're ahead of the curve. Like everybody's going like that's offensive, and we're like, yeah, we've been saying that for millennia.
Yeah.
But people would applaud at it. They didn't get that I was making fun of, like, just making light of it. They thought I was making a stand, like, yeah, everything's fucked, and we've been saying it for a long time. Like, that wasn't my point. So it would get the wrong kind of applause.
Yeah.
But I'm doing my first stand-up show on Sunday. I haven't done stand-up in a
Oh,
long time.
wow.
And podcast is different. Have you noticed that? Like,
Very.
I'll say things to Val where I go, that's that's not a bit. That's maybe something I could say on a podcast because a podcast does feel a little bit more like a sleepover. It's more private. I don't know why.
It
So that
is.
like you just sort of like you even like the things that I'm saying now, it's less presentational, even though it's being presented.
It's a
So
conversation.
it's
It's a
scrutinized. It's
conversation.
scrutinized differently. It still might
Right.
be scrutinized, but it's scrutinized differently.
Hmm.
I'm thinking of specific stand-up scandals that if it had been on a podcast, just talking, it might have been. I'm not talking about Michael Richards. That would have been bad no matter where. And there have been other examples of
Yeah.
things like that. But there are some things where I'm like, a podcast is like a sleepover. It really is sort of like oh, we're up past our bedtime and we're just talking, and people kind of understand that. But it's
Hmm.
also how you consume it. You listen to it privately. So that's one of the things about being offended. I don't want to call it offense culture because that others it. I'm just talking about the quality of being offended
Hmm.
is different when you're in the public eye. Like I remember, here's a great example. It's in like 2000, 1999. I
Yeah.
remember we were playing this video game. I went to a Christian college, and there was this video game. It was called Metal Gear, and we loved it. Me and my roommate loved it. But then one time I was playing it alone, and he came in with his girlfriend, Harmony, who was incredibly religious, incredibly strict. And on the screen was like some violence. It was the first PlayStation. It wasn't that gruesome, but it was some
Right.
like weird monster creature, and I'm shooting it. And my roommate, who is now a different person because he's in the view of his very conservative girlfriend, goes like, literally goes, oh my goodness. Like the most fake. I never let him live it down. To this
Yeah.
day, when I see him, I'll go, "Oh my goodness, that's disturbing." Like he was fronting, he was
Yeah.
faking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're at a stand-up show, especially if it's being recorded, especially if the lights are up on the audience, it's hard. It's now a corporate activity, meaning you're congregated, like you're a group of people. So you're on the record. That's why, like, me laughing at you doing some weird voice, let's say a voice of yours that uh, you were riffing, and I laugh and it's fine. But it's different if I post a video of you doing that bit on my Facebook page because
I
now
know.
it's not just me liking it, it's me, and I represent my place of work, I represent my family, I represent my faith. If I have a faith, I represent so many, my state, my city. You represent all of these things, so there's more ideas imposed on you, more identity imposed on you, and then it's much easier to judge a very clear identity. Whereas the fun of show business, and I'm not making an excuse like we should be able to say anything, but the fun of going to like a modern art exhibit, this is what I always go to. Like a real modern, like you go in a room and a woman is naked and she's covered in cow shit and she screams at you. She just screams the hard C word at you. And that's the exhibit. Like she wanted to create an exhibit that would give you the feeling of shame and disgust, all of these shadow emotions that we don't usually have a place for. She's like, I'm
Yeah.
going to make a container for it. It's going to be the experience. Like, I'm so tired of pretending everything's Disneyland. I'm going to give you a very like hard German sort of experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what you pay for. You pay to do shadow work, as Carl Jung would call it, or Freud. You're like,
Hmm.
looking into the abyss because that's part of being a human. Now that's all fine. You and I could do that in the East Village tomorrow if we wanted to, probably. It's very different if I Instagram live it, or it's very different if that's
So
a
true. Right.
movie. This
Yeah.
is why when I'm thinking about offensive comedy and how we delight in looking at our shadow, looking at our grotesque bits, looking at like it's not okay and it's not great, but we're going to play with those sort of weirder, I don't mean dark, just like stranger, more
Hmm.
subconscious energies. The best place you could do that is like You're in Amsterdam, it's 4 a.m. You go into like an absinthe bar, you sit at the back table, you're alone, you're just waiting for your flight the next morning, but you're on a different time zone, so you're all jacked. You just sit down, have an iced tea or an absinthe, it doesn't matter. And you didn't even know, but a show is happening and a show starts. And you see some of the weirdest shit in the world, but because you have no identity, you're a stranger in a strange land.
Yeah.
Nobody knows you. Nobody's ever going to know you. That is the freedom of a pure artistic experience. And that's what the woman covered in feces screaming the C word at me is trying
Right.
to give me. She's like, forget Jessica Kirson, forget Mother, forget Jewish, forget 51. Just be your psyche if you don't want
Yeah.
to get spiritual about it, or be your awareness, be your soul, and come in and if God wanted to like experience this, I just use the word God to mean this
Yeah.
wanted to experience this. It sort of wants to experience all of it. It wants to experience weird. Look at BDSM. I'm not saying BDSM is weird. I'm saying it wants to play every game
I
in a
know.
safe way.
I get
In a
it.
safe way.
Yeah.
And when people are offended, I totally respect that. I'm just saying it's a hard rainforest to preserve.
I
To say,
know.
like, we need a space where we can do shadow work. That's what roasts are. That's why comedians love each other. I go, Jesse, you sound like an old bitch. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and
I
you
know.
love it. And you love
Yeah.
it because I'm seeing your vulnerability and I'm not ashamed of it. And I'm not shaming you about it.
And
I'm
I
just
feel
going,
fine with it.
I can't hear. And you feel seen and exercised. And that's a real human need that sort of Cloroxing everything is
I
going to only
know.
the more you turn up the lights, the darker the shadow gets. So the more we go, there's no room for this. It all has to be clean. It all has to be right. It all has to be good. It all has to be woke. That's when you get the used panty vending machines in Japan. When you have a culture that is so like
Totally.
honor
That's what
based,
I'm seeing.
you're
People
gonna
are getting
yeah,
darker and darker and dark comics
it's gonna
and
go
art.
somewhere.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. It's like I was at the cellar last night and I was talking about my own experience, my own life, and then you have these young, white girls for the most part going, "Ah, ah," and I'm like, "That's my life. Why are you're like freaking out about my real experiences or
Yeah.
trying to have me stop talking about it? You're
Or
getting
impose
attention."
shame on you, which is
Right,
which
that's
is
what I'm
even
saying,
worse.
which is
Yeah.
worse.
They're trying to
Comics is making me
flag
feel
you.
bad.
They're
Right.
trying to shame you into being ashamed.
Right. It's
They're
horrible.
doing what I would do to the Irvine white wine woman at the concert who's dancing.
Right.
But
Right.
like humanity, like I say this a lot on my own podcast. I don't know what's my go-to example, but the sweetest, holiest nun, meaning whole. I don't
Yeah.
mean just floating
Yeah.
on a cushion. I mean she's whole, she's integrated, she's complete, she's beautiful, she's kind. Sometimes she has a dream where she's punching Joe Biden in the neck or whatever. I
Right.
don't even want to give an example
Yeah,
of what it
yeah.
could
I get
really
what you
be
mean. Of course.
because
She's
people will
human.
misunderstand. Or she'll be pouring her cream in her coffee and go, fuck my dad. Like just involuntary. It's like
Yes.
a thought from her subconscious or from our collective unconscious. She's just in tune with the messiness.
Mhm.
And what we're doing when we, and again, this was so much of my life, when we're only moving forward, we're sort of like, I don't mean forward progressing. I just mean if you walk forward, behind you exists. And in the same way, when we have goodness, like darkness exists or strangeness exists,
No.
and it exists in you. This is one
Right.
of my favorite things about what's happening with racism, like racism education, is in the 80s and 90s when we were kids, you just said, I'm not racist. And now everybody's being, well, the room has gotten bigger. And now you're allowed to say, I have prejudice. I have been conditioned by movies, by TV,
Yeah.
I'm from Boston for fuck's sake. Like my environment, it's in me in the way
Yeah.
that symbols and behavior gets inside of you. And it doesn't serve anybody to say, I'm not racist. You have to say, I might be unconsciously racist. I might have
Right.
unknown biases. And
Yeah.
that's the conversation. Similarly, art can say, guess what? You're fucked up and you're weird. None of us are fucked up. None of us are weird, but all of us are everything. I used to have a bit about breastfeeding. I was like, the first thing you did in life was go to second base with your mom. It's a wonder. It's a wonder you're not shitting in the bus coin slot. Like, oh, I want to ride the bus, and you just take a huge dump in the coin slot. I'm going to ride this bus because I sucked my mom's tits. That's the first thing I did.
Yeah.
And that wasn't weird when it happened. But then as soon as you hit puberty, they're like, well, you know what sex is? It's doing that. Like, it's doing
Right.
that thing that you have this
Yeah, yeah,
weird
yeah.
subconscious memory of, or a visceral memory of.
Yeah.
And then she's going to call you daddy and you're going to call her, oh, mama. Like, we're so fucked. We don't even know we're fucked. And we need art to say it's safe to be fucked. It's safe to be neurotic because I'm neurotic. The Dalai Lama probably has days where he's just feeling a little neurotic. It's okay. A holy person is a whole person, is an integrated person who can witness their darkness and their light and know that both are passing phenomenon. That's what art is telling us.
My therapist always says that it's healthy to have all different emotions, all different things going on at one time, that's a really healthy person that
Yeah.
experiences all of that. How do you feel about performing? I'm so curious that you haven't done it in so long. Are you
Yeah.
nervous? Are you excited? Are you
I'm
both?
I'm sort of surprised that I'm not nervous. I noticed that it does kick up. Remember that in The Princess Bride, that machine that tortures people?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a big wheel and it has
Yeah,
water
yeah.
and all these things.
Uh-huh.
I always look at stand up as something, it's like a big machine like that. And what is unpleasant about it, if anything, is that I have to power the machine back up. I have to like get it churning. And it never really turns off. It kind of has like a silent mode, but it's
Yeah.
still going.
Right.
And if there's anything I enjoyed about the pandemic, and there's a lot, I'm sort of one of the weirdos that was like, this is great. I even in public, you can kind of be private, and
I
it's
like that too. I love
and
an
you
isolator, so I
and an
love it.
excuse to not recognize anybody. I
Yeah,
loved that. I
yeah,
loved that, and I loved being home with my family. Those were good things. I didn't
yeah,
like the suffering and all the bad things, all that, of course. But I also enjoyed that I could shut the machine down. I don't remember my bits. I'll tell you, I'm not really looking forward to inviting them back in. But I am, but I'm
hmm.
not.
I know.
I have all of this. I'm sorry.
It's confusing. It's a lot of mixed emotions.
It's a sword. It's a very sharp sword. And it's a really fun, sharp sword to go out and swing at the straw stuffed dummies and hack them down and be like, I killed. But then you go home with the sword, and then you have the sword in your bed with you, and it's like cutting your face and keeping you awake. You have to kind of keep it away from your family so it doesn't cut them. Because comedy is discernment. It's analyzing this and that, and this is better and this is worse, and this is my opinion about this, and this is how I'm going to say that. And you remember these hunks of material, and every bit is like broken into other hunks, and it takes a lot of like subconscious effort.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, it's worth it. Like, I do miss the Pete that used to drive home. I've never done cocaine, but just like high on what I imagine cocaine is. If it's not what cocaine is, then people are getting a bad deal because I can't imagine feeling better than after
Mhm.
having a great stand-up set. And on the way to the show, I'm always playing like Radiohead or The National. I'm listening to like very morose sort of lo-fi stuff. And on the way home, I'm only listening to like Kanye or Chance. Like, I'm listening to like hip
Yeah.
hop because that part of me, and I don't say it in a bad way, like ego, like yuck. I just mean my
Yeah.
psyche got the affirmation. I feel the solidarity with humanity. I said things that I thought I was alone about, and they thought they were alone about, and we found a laugh bridge between us. And I feel like the world is beautiful, not just because I'm a special boy, but because like this is
Mhm.
one of the things human beings do. It's like Avatar. It's like the end of Avatar. We just gather around and hold hands and look at a tree. But instead of a tree, nothing's even there. It's just words, and the music is them. With you, it can feel really beautiful, but it takes a lot of fucking effort. It's not easy.
It's
And I
not.
sort of liked my little house on the prairie. Like, I could say something funny and not write it down. That's the price you pay for turning what you love into your job, is it
Yeah.
becomes like a set of muscle memories. Like, I'm sure I'm not saying either of us are Michael Jordan. I'm just saying I'm sure Michael Jordan on some days was like, man, I sort of missed the kid that just liked basketball. Because now I think about basketball and I'm like, well, I gotta like stretch this because I know I injure that, and I know I
Yeah.
gotta do 5,000 free throws because I'm not great at those or whatever it is. I know, boo fucking who, like, oh, your magic life requires effort. Like, kiss my ass, Pete. I hear that. I'm just saying my
No,
truth.
but it is. It's hard when you take time off because then, but you do. I mean, I noticed I got right back into. I mean, I was like, oh my God, I don't know. It's going to take a while, but it really did just.
Did?
Oh my God. It was
That's
just
great.
like it felt comfortable right away. It really
I'm
did.
so
The
glad.
only thing that feels uncomfortable is kind of, and you're so in tuned and so smart, so you're gonna feel the way I do, I guarantee it, is like the energy is a little different because people are shell shocked. Like I keep
Yeah.
thinking there are people in the audience who are like, I feel like they're out too soon. Like
Yeah.
they went from being home for so long and they've had so much going on in their lives. And now they're in the
Yeah.
audience, like, oh my God, I'm not really okay, but I'm out, but
Right.
I'm freaking out a little and I'm scared.
Rescue dog
Yeah,
energy.
there's that. I
Yeah.
feel it every night when I'm on
I'm gonna
stage.
feel that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you something that I usually forget to do, but somebody said like psychically. I like talking about weird stuff.
Yeah.
They're like psychically or energetically, I think is what they mean by psychically. They don't
Mhm.
mean reading minds. Your psyche, which by the way, the word psyche just means soul. I think it's so
Mhm.
funny that we're like, I mean, it literally translates to soul.
Yeah.
But your psyche, your series of experiences mixed with your psyche, whatever. It's not always good to send a connecting tube from you directly to the audience, meaning it's not always safe to you. And
Hmm.
you know this.
Yes.
Sometimes the audience just has it's the energy that made you a comedian. It's not the energy that you were looking for. It is the drunken dinner with your parents
Yes.
and everybody's angry. And
Mhm.
don't get me wrong, that can feel really good as a performer to sort of relive your trauma as a youth, but this time you know what to say and you're like, fuck you, and you kill and you go like, suck on it, mom and dad. Like that
Powerful
can
feeling. Yes.
very
That's
powerful.
a powerful
I would
feeling.
wish that for anybody that had like a weird childhood
Yeah.
to find some
Yeah.
way to reclaim it. That can be really
Yeah.
good. But I
Yeah.
don't think that's the best group to give a direct access to your heart.
I
So
know.
somebody, I think it was Dwight Slade, who worked a lot with Bill Hicks, close friend, said, picture a tube going from your heart up into the cloud, up into the sky, like up into the eternal energy. So don't try to mirror or feed or feed them or feed off of them, but feed off of something greater that you're just kind of hopefully parting the clouds for them to get something better instead of like
So
really
feed up to the
linking
feed up to the clouds and then that will feed to them kind of
it.
thing.
Well, it's feeding you. It's sort of keeping you safe from,
That's a great point. I
right?
love that.
I think you and I can give ourselves pretty easily to crowds, and
You're
sometimes
right.
you come off
I do
stage and
do
you're
that
like,
too much.
why did I
Yeah.
let the orcs into the Shire? Like I don't understand.
I do that way too much.
Yeah,
I pick up on their energy and then I just even if they're sad, it's sometimes it's not even that they're angry or
hostile.
rude
Yeah.
or whatever. I feel their sad, I feel the angst and then I get down.
Well, that's what brought it to mind. Is if
Yeah.
we're talking about being empaths, people that like absorb other people's energy.
Mhm.
I'm also a highly sensitive person. I'm also an introvert. That I'm a cat who learned how to do an impression of a dog. That doesn't mean I don't love talking to people, but this is not a social setting for me.
Yeah.
This is easy for me. I like this. It's comfortable. But like stand up is like something I had to learn how to like steel myself to do. Even though I really liked it, it was still asking a lot of my natural settings. Believe it or
Yeah.
not, I know I look like a really good
Me too,
time.
Pete. We're very similar.
I know you look like I
Yeah.
look like I should be wearing a Hawaiian shirt with a ring of Coors Lights, and I tell your wife like, "Don't worry, I'll have him home by 11." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Psych!" Like that seems like what it should be.
Yeah.
But I am like, let's stay home and watch, The Crown. Like that's just so much more me. But anyway, yeah, like it. If I'm feeling that they're feeling nervous that they're out, I'm glad you're telling me that
Hmm.
because I'm fully vaxxed, but I wonder if they will be or if they're just risking it.
Well, I think that, you know, I keep thinking when I'm on stage, like people have been through so much stuff. If you really think about it, it's like someone went in for major surgery and no one could go with them. Someone's parent passed, someone's friend passed,
Forget
someone
it.
had to go to a shiva or a funeral and they had to stand there with a mask on with four people.
Or
Someone
they
who
a Zoom Shiva. I mean,
That's what
like,
I'm
or
saying. Or
yeah,
like, or they've worked from home with their kid, or their kids have been home with them all year, and they're
forget
going out
it.
of their minds, or they're in a horrible
Forget it.
marriage now, or they're this or that. And I keep thinking about that, and I'm like, it makes sense. And now they've been home for a year, and now they're in a comedy club, and then there's like being served drinks and food, and so many people have said to me, "This is my first time out," or "This is my second time out in a
Yeah.
year." I mean, that's a
Yeah.
major statement.
Yeah.
So yeah, I keep
Yeah.
trying to remember that while I'm performing
And
because
for you too, just
yeah.
because we're getting the glory. I realized we had a group. We quarantined very strictly for 2 weeks so we could go. Everybody did, so we could go over to our friend's house, like some dear friends. This is in
Yeah.
the middle of everything. We sort of kept that to ourselves. I think there was a lot of that, by the way. A lot of like very careful people just doing something, and we're like, "Don't tell Mike about this. Like, don't tell that one friend you have
Yeah.
that's like,
Yeah.
that's fucking insane." But we were very strict about it, and then we did it just so we could hang out on like a birthday or something. And we still distanced and we still wore masks, but all that. And we were outside. But still, and well, we took our masks off outside, and I was like, I'm not ready for this. I don't like this. I don't like that
Yeah.
you can see my face. I forgot what it was to have someone say something like, and that's why I ultimately decided on Dartmouth. And then now I'm supposed to say something, and you just go, okay. Like I forgot how to do that, how to keep the balloon
I
in the air.
know.
And I think a lot of people are going to forget how to do that. So it's a lot to ask them to be an audience.
I just keep addressing it. Like last night on stage at the Cellar, I was like, listen, none of us are okay. Like we're all out and we are not. And they were hysterically laughing. They were like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I'm like, this is like a mental institution right now. We are all out and we don't know what to do with ourselves. And people were laughing
So
because he
funny.
was so honest. They were
Yeah.
all, because I looked out and some of the people were literally looking at me like this, like they looked really freaked out. I'm like, are you okay?
Well, it's the weird reality to have been living in that when you see a stranger, it's like seeing someone with a loaded weapon. Because if they velociraptor cough at you, have you had that paranoid fantasy? Like,
Yes,
if
of
this
course.
guy just chose to violently cough on me, like, what would I do? Even if you called the cops and got them arrested, like, it's already happened. Like,
I
you've already,
know.
like, the cough has already happened. I played it through where I was like, you just be like, I guess you call the cops so he doesn't do it to someone else, but you just have to make peace with the fact that you've been velociraptor coughed.
I mean, it's like if someone had a venereal disease and you're afraid that they're gonna like assault you. I mean, it's really
It's funny
crazy.
that it's funny that you say that because I haven't done stand up, but one of my bits. See, I don't know if I'm going to do COVID bits or just be like the guy that's like, can I just do bits about other stuff because everybody's going to be doing COVID bits? I don't know,
I've
but
seen both.
both.
There's some people that have been doing a lot of COVID. I mean, it's like Attell. I watched Attell the other night. He did a lot of COVID bits, but they were hysterical. I mean, I think if they're really funny, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter. You don't even like
yeah,
notice they're COVID, but
right. My
but
Attell
some
bit would be
people.
like Dave Attell noticed there was a quarantine. That would be my roast.
Well, he's into it. Yeah,
He likes
he's
it.
because well, no, he's been caught really cautious. Like
Oh,
yeah,
no,
he's
that's what
like,
I meant. Like, I would guess seeing a sensitive person in Dave, I would see
oh
that he would
yeah.
be like, okay, I'm just going to lock down. And it's like, yeah, wasn't that sort of what we were doing? I know we couldn't go out to the clubs. So that's a big blow to Dave.
You're
So
gonna laugh. This has been made us all so crazy that Dave is playing a tiny little flute on stage now. That should just show you how much we've all lost our minds.
that,
Goes on stage with a mini flute and plays it during his act.
that seems like I just had to check if I was dreaming. A good way to check if you're dreaming is you look at your hands. If you've ever had a lucid dream and you look at your hands, your brain can't get the hands right. They always look like catcher's mitts, or they're purple, or they're not there.
Really?
Yeah, so a good practice if you want to get better at having lucid dreams, dreams where you recognize that you're dreaming, the trick is to check in regularly in your waking life to see if you're dreaming. But that definitely felt like I was dreaming.
A
Like
mini
you're
recorder, that's what it's called. I keep calling it a mini flute. It's a mini recorder he's playing while he's performing.
I mean, it could be a fife. It doesn't matter. He's blowing into a wind instrument on
I
stage. So
laughed when I first saw it. I could not breathe. I was literally almost throwing up from laughing because I was
did
like,
he,
we all lost our minds.
does he set it up at all?
he just starts playing it, and then he's like he play like tells jokes and then just starts playing it in between. I mean, it's the funniest thing because it's him. And it's just like I just think,
Yeah.
my God, we've all lost it. Like
He can do anything. I sort of love that. I wonder if, like, after the show, groups of his fans just follow him as he plays the mini recorder. They follow him
what the
to
hell?
the Fat Black, like, follow him to his next set. He's the Pied Piper, is what
All
I'm
over
thinking.
the city, just to the
Yeah,
next club.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm so I everyone talks about Crashing, how much they love that every single, I'm not kidding, every week
You
someone,
get that a lot?
every week someone said something to me last night at the Fat
Oh,
Black at the comedy
that's so
store.
great.
They love the show. Are you working? Is there anything you can talk about? Are you working on anything else right now? Is there anything like that you want to do that you're working on, or
There's a couple noodles in the pot. I just shot a pilot, a multicam pilot for
good?
CBS. That is
I'm
not my, yeah, it's not my baby, which you would be so great at that, obviously. I think it's good for the silly billies. It's like putting on a
yeah,
little play for a little audience, and we had literally like 15 people in the audience.
yeah.
But it's like it reminded me of doing improv in the way that you like you cheat out. Like the way you go to the fridge is very similar to how
I
you would,
love that.
you know what I mean? It's very
Yeah.
showbiz. And I really enjoyed it. Like I'm not just saying that to like toe the line and be like, wow, what a great experience. I really enjoyed it. And I kept thinking about how specifically 15-year-old me, that's the only show business. Like 15-year-old me would be like, you have a podcast? Like, but I'd be like, no, but we're on a stage with a crowd and we're doing a like Full House and like, I'm trying to think of the other one, like Cheers, or, they
So
would be
you,
so
Pete.
happy.
That's so you.
Or Three's
So
Company.
perfect for you. Yeah, that's you. Three's
That's
Company. It's you.
literally that. I think some. I mean, people think I'm like John Ritter, and I'm like, oh, this is like a perfect place. It's the
Yeah.
only time I've ever been directed with the direction bigger.
Wow.
When
I
we were
love
doing,
that.
you would love it. I'm not saying we were doing it big like Doofus Town, but having done Crashing, I would do it small. I would do everything small,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't say bigger, but they'd be like, have more fun with it, go loose,
Oh,
and you just
heaven.
perform it in the way that I would perform it for you if I was trying to make you laugh. You know what I mean? But you're not hiding under the cool blanket to be like, no, I'm Timothy Chalamet. Like, I really just want you to go like, wow, how did he make that seem so natural? Like, I'm just trying to be funny. Like Robin, our
Oh
homeboy
my
Robin, like
God.
Mork and Mindy. Like,
I
yeah,
love that.
yeah,
That's my thing. Like
yeah,
that is so awesome that you got to do that because
yeah,
that's your, like, that's where I feel like you probably shine so much. Like that is you're so physical and so silly, and it's rare.
I
It's rare. I
appreciate
mean,
it.
it is what Robin, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like Robin saw me so silly on stage once. It's the biggest thing that ever happened in my career. I'm not kidding. Out of everything I've done, when he said, came up to me and said, "You're so silly and so free." He said, "Just keep doing what you're doing. You're a star. Just
Mhm.
keep doing." He encouraged
Uh,
me to just be sillier and sillier.
yeah,
And
yeah,
because he said, "No one does it,
yeah,
and you do that." I'm so glad that you got to do that
yeah.
creatively.
It's really, really fun. And on the joke I used to make about Crashing was, I wrote it, and I mean, I wrote it with a group, but like I was involved heavily in the writing,
Mhm.
um, meaning we could have made my character like different. But the conceit was he was a new comedian, so he was like I was most
Yeah.
interested in the guy who goes to the cellar and sits there quietly, who doesn't know what to say. It's kind of a crazy thing that I can't really remember what that was like, but I can kind of. But we captured it in Crashing. So the joke was I was like the narrator. I was it was like
Right.
the Great Gatsby, and I was talking about all the Great Gatsbys that I saw, but very rarely would Pete be like super funny. I'm not saying this to put me down. I'd be funny like awkward or funny strange, but and sometimes my stand up was okay. I was mostly just doing stand up for the first 2 3 years of writing stand up, so it was like by design it felt funny, but sort of like lacking anything super unique. Like meaning
Yeah.
I remember I read Jay Sankey wrote a book called Zen and the Art of Stand Up comedy. He said the degree to which someone else can do your bit and have it work is the degree to which you're unoriginal. And I would amend that. I would say like the degree to which other people could maybe do my jokes, but my best jokes are the ones, and your best jokes are the ones that only you could do. Meaning it's the way you do it.
Yeah.
You could transcribe a lot of my bits and it would be like, this is okay. This is like fine. But then you see the joy with which I'm enjoying it. I'm reconnecting to what I liked about it. And then it becomes what Jay would call original, but what I would call just like, I guess, authentic or like personal without being like, I'm from Boston. My mom's Lithuanian. Like, that's not really personal. Personal is letting you see me the way you see me as your cousin Sam or whatever his name is.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the way that you make it personal in your delivery and your how you're passionate about it and all of that.
Silly. Well, that's what silly. Like nobody's
I
silly in
love that we're
exactly the same
silly.
way. Me
But
too.
we're a lot of people aren't silly. A lot of comics aren't silly. I mean, we're rare. I'm being
Well,
on. We
comedians, I
are.
think, hate more than anything to be embarrassed. So here, a crashing story
I
is
I like it.
being what? Silly?
I don't mind being embarrassed.
Ah, I love it. I don't mind being
I
embarrassed
don't.
if I'm being silly and they don't go with me. I'm embarrassed for them.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's
Like,
hysterical.
I'm sorry you lost your connection to your inner child, but I'm not
I
gonna. Yeah,
swear I feel the exact when I'm like on stage doing something and
yeah,
they're staring at me, I start hysterically laughing and I'm like
yeah,
I feel so bad for you
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
you are watching me do this and you
Yeah.
can't let go and laugh right now. That is so
Yeah.
sad to me.
That is, I mean, we're very similar in that way that one of the funnest and hopefully funniest things I'll do on stage is if it's not working, you put the onus on them.
I do.
Not in like, oh, you don't get it, but like, I'm, what kind of lunatic? I'm asking you to RSVP to Childlike Joy, and
Yeah.
you're going, well, this isn't very hip.
Yeah. I
Fuck
know.
you. I
I
don't
know.
know what they're doing, but they're going like joke detected. Like they're looking for. I don't know what they're looking for. They're looking to feel safe. They don't want to be embarrassed, and comedians don't want to be embarrassed. So the story
Yeah.
about on Crashing was would be shooting at the Fat Black all the time, and it would always be like it's a party, it's loud, it's after show, it's like a bar. All those scenes. Like if you watch the table scenes in Crashing or any show that's at a party, when they were shooting it, it was dead quiet. All the background actors are going like this because it has to be dead quiet for the sound.
Yeah.
And that's a very eerie sort of Black Mirror setting. There's no music playing. Even if the actors are like, what? I can't hear you. Nothing is playing. It's dead quiet. It's just actors going, I can't hear. I can't hear, like you. So what does that look like? That's embarrassing. You look like comedians want to
Yeah.
control the group and bring the group to them. And when you're an actor, sometimes you have to do stuff fully aware that it might not be funny here, it
Hmm.
might not be cool here, but the thing that looks the least cool and the least funny on TV is stuff where the person is thinking about stuff like that, is
Yeah.
worried about stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you had to do these big things like, and so the comedians would never do it. I'm telling you, take after take. I don't want to single anybody out because
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
wasn't any one of them. It was everybody would be like, action. Hey man, let's get some fries. And would be like, you got to yell it. Hey man, let's get some fries. Let's get out of here or whatever. Take two. Hey man, let's get some fries. It's like, look, I know it's quiet in here. Like that was one of the things that I attributed to embarrassment.
Yeah.
Because the thing that I carried with me through all of the acting I've ever done is that Ted Danson, we're back to Cheers, somebody was working with him on, I don't know, The Good Place or something. And he did a take and it was great. And he came back and sat with the writer and he went, isn't acting embarrassing? And that is the job, is
Yeah.
like getting over like action. And you just start fighting. Action. You start crying. Action. You start laughing.
It is
Like
very.
as mammals, we know to not trust the crazy ape that's just pretending to be happy. but you have to do it. It's
Right.
people don't talk about it enough for my taste that it's really fucking unsettling to see someone acting
It
in a
is. And
quiet room.
for me, in front of like the crew, I always feel like with the cameramen and the crew, like it feels embarrassing with all these guys, like these macho guys
That's right.
standing around watching.
I used to have to. We did all these masturbation scenes. I'll never
Oh
forget
my God.
Frankie, our sound guy. I know him only as this. He always had his hands up like this poor guy, and he used to do the sound for all of Scorsese's movies and stuff. So he's like a kind of a legend, and he's like a very. There's nothing about him in particular, but meaning he's just a man. He's just a strange man,
Right.
and I'm miming masturbating,
Oh
and
my.
he's right there
Oh,
making sure he gets the sound of what, like the
oh
moistness of my lips. Like, what is going on?
my God.
Talk about like getting
Yes.
over it. You go like, that's what the money is for. It's not just a glory. It's not glorious all the time. You know what I mean? Like it's
No, you have to think about like your house, your wife. Like you got to really just
yeah.
think about
And
what it's
that's what
for.
I think about when I masturbate anyway. My house and my wife.
Your
So I
house.
work. I go, oh, property values. Like I can't get hard unless I
Yeah,
think
the new
about.
deck, the new deck.
I'm gonna coat the deck. I'm gonna coat the deck. It's rainproof now.
Oh, the siding, the siding, the siding.
Jizz slides right off a good siding. It's fine.
Jizz.
Jizz.
Is that a
Jessica.
safe? Is that a,
Jizz. Jizz.
that's what I'm calling this episode. Jizz with Pete Holmes.
Jizz. All of those words. Smegma. Isn't that what?
That's worse than jizz. That's a
Oh, I
horrible
hate it.
word.
What is it from another
Smegma?
planet?
What
Smegma?
is that? That because it feels like it's saying smell.
Of course, smegma.
Is a
And it sounds like
horrible.
magma, like
It's
it's
bad.
erupting from in the earth, like
Oh God, I'm
it's the
just
worst.
smelling.
Jizz is the worst. Like we all have to make
Smegma's worse.
everything. I've done a lot of bits about this, but like sex only makes sense when you're horny. When I'm like horny, you're like a wolf person. You become a werewolf, and like none of these things make rational sense. By the way, every comedian I think writes this bit at some point. But when you're horny, you're like, yeah, juice and jizz and all this stuff. Like it's all you're about. And then as soon as you come, you're like, what was that all about? Like you're the man. You're covered in chicken blood and feathers and in your tattered shirt, and you're like, I don't know what I did.
Crying.
And yet I have to say to Val, like, was that good for you? Like, was
Yeah, you're
it?
like, did I please you?
Was that?
No.
One time I was on a psychedelic and Val was not, and I was rubbing my face on hers, and it just was the most
That
euphoric experience. I was just rubbing my face on hers, and we still laugh about this. And I go, "Are you enjoying this?" Because I was loving it so much. I was like, "This is the best."
what did she say?
She's the best. She's not just an angel in the sense that she'll babysit somebody on a psychedelic. She's always like that in life, and she's
I
like,
know she's
yes,
amazing. I
she's a
love
treasure.
her.
She's an absolute treasure, and she would never. That was in my wedding vows. We've been talking about shame, and I said in my wedding vow, I was like, I never come home to bitterness or shame or judgment. That's what I want everyone to have, is like what art is trying to do, what comedy can be trying to do. Not always. Let's not lump all comedy into like the safe space or the good work. It's not always. It can be ugly and nasty and divisive. And I don't just mean like the ugly guys. I mean, there can
Yeah,
be some pretty innocuous comedy where
yeah,
right under the surface you're like, I don't like what you're saying.
yeah.
Like
Of
if we just
course.
stop for 1 second,
Yeah.
you're really perpetuating a
Hmm.
gross mythology that I've been trying to wake up from. And you're making all of these people in a vulnerable state of laughter reaffirm, yes, men are strong and women are weak, or money is good and food is the best. Eating a lot of fucking food is the best. And
Hmm.
so is like jerking off and fucking. It's like you're just nothing wrong. I'm not against food, jerking
No,
off,
I get what you're
fucking,
saying.
but
You're right.
like I just don't like when people use their platform to go up and reaffirm beliefs they already have.
Yeah.
I'm not George Carlin, but I'd like, meaning he really tried to challenge beliefs, but I'd
Yeah.
like to just kind of maybe just float. That's why I'm always trying as a comedian to be like, I'm scared sometimes. Or one of my favorite bits was, I hate this assumption that men always want to have sex. Like, there was an article I saw that said 6 reasons why you should fuck your husband every day. And I was like, you're going to fuck me every day? What makes you think I want to fuck you every day? Like, you're going to just come in and fuck me? I just heard a song that made me think of my father. I'm not in the mood. Like, why are
Yeah, that's
women
not
the
even
ones
true.
we have
Right.
to draw you a bath? That's what I say. I said, draw me a bath. Put on Boys to
Draw me
Men.
a bath.
Draw me a bath. Like, you don't have to woo me. I'm just like this was my favorite part. This is the silly part. I
Right.
go, like, you're just going to come in naked and I'm going to go, sex is available? Like, fuck you. That is a silly bit, but I'm trying to
Yeah.
say there's lots of gradations of
Yeah.
humanity.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm so
know.
tired of this Clint Eastwood, like, or just like someone will be like, they'll offer sex as a bargaining chip, or they're always grabbing guys' crotches on shows like Mad Men. He's like, I can't, and he grabs her crotch and he's like, this says otherwise. I'm like, if you did that to me, you'd feel the limpest noodle, and you'd go, wow, you really don't feel safe to just get hard with a
I
stranger.
know.
Like, but oh, it's the weirdest.
It's so ridiculous. Everyone
No.
is so complicated. It is so ridiculous.
Everybody's so complex. That's what I'm trying to say. These
Right.
archetypes, these identities are fucking nonsense. They're guesses from other primates. And then culture is just when a group of primates agree on 15 to 45, 50 identities. And we all just go like, is this my ringtone? Is this my ringtone? That's why it's so funny when you see someone auditioning a hat. You're like, they're going around very vulnerable. Like, am I a hat guy? Because you see a primate struggling with finding their identity when really their identity is so slippery and so dark and so
Yeah.
purple, swirling cosmos,
Yeah.
changing all the time. I wake up sometimes, I'm hyper masculine. I'm like, let's fucking
Yeah.
do this. Let's change the world. I'm gonna kick ass and take names. And then later that same day, I'll be crying at a Dove commercial, like a Dove soap commercial, or whatever the joke would be, like something else
I
vulnerable.
know.
My heart will break
I'm the
at
same way.
seeing.
I'm very male and very female, and I've never related. I'm really in the middle.
This is
So I don't,
why
yeah,
so many of the ancient symbols of God were hermaphroditic, if I
right.
can use that word,
Yep.
because there was an understanding, like we were saying about good and evil, or light and dark, or right and wrong, or male and female, or masculine and feminine, or these are polarities that they're the same side of the different sides of the same coin, meaning they only exist in relation to each other.
Yes.
You know you're a woman because I'm a man, right? So this
Mhm.
is what like the trans movement is really sort of beautifully questioning. It's really a metaphysical issue. Is like, who are you?
Yeah.
They're answering it in very bold and brave ways that deserve support and rights and all of that. But just because I'm a straight cis white guy doesn't mean I'm off the hook. I don't just go like, that's right. I like a cold beer, and
And
that's like,
football and
that's
hoagie.
right.
I know. I know.
That was just handed to you by a corporation that doesn't give a fuck about you. That was a
Exactly.
great thing about getting sober. They were like, I do I do psychedelics, and I sometimes smoke weed, rarely, but I sometimes smoke weed. But I stopped drinking, and I read this book called This Naked Mind. I listened to it on an audiobook, and one of the best points it made, it was like, where did you get the idea that like drinking 7 Manhattans was a good time? Was it you? Was it really you? Or was it the people at Southern Comfort?
Yeah.
No. And
Yeah.
I'm not, by the way, if people drink, I don't judge people
No,
who
it's
drink.
not. I mean,
They
you're right.
know
Yeah.
this is going to hook you. This is in
Of
the same way that
course.
sugar or affirmation, lots of things are
Yeah.
addictive. this is an addictive substance. It also has a culture and like a status. I just
Right.
have a bit about that. Like you drink whiskey, I can't drink a Cosmo. Yeah, you have to drink whiskey because I'm demonstrating that I can drink poison and still function. That's what you're saying to the
Yeah.
pack. You're saying
Yeah.
I'm drinking something acrid, something toxic. That's what a jawline is, evidence of testosterone. And testosterone is a poison. Too much testosterone will kill you. So
Yeah.
why do a lot of women find jawlines and even Jason Statham style hair loss or chest hair? These are all indicators of high testosterone levels.
Yeah.
Why is that important? Because if you breed with someone with a lot of testosterone, you know their genes will produce a baby that can withstand other poisons, that can withstand toxicity levels that might take out the baby of someone who looks like, I don't want to say a name. I had a name ready. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
it.
You don't have to say it.
But you know what I'm saying? I could say me. But and
Yeah.
that's what whiskey is. So whiskey is the testosterone indicator that you can buy at a bar. But like, wake up, enjoy your whiskey, but don't get lost thinking that it was purely your idea to do it. Like you're participating in a dance that was choreographed by somebody who doesn't love you and
Right.
doesn't care
Yeah.
about
It's
you.
trying to hook you in. Yeah. And get, yeah.
And that's true of everything. That's true of food.
It's
That's true
true
of
of
entertainment.
everything.
And that's what liberation is. Liberation is going, wait, I'm not just running the show, I am the show. And I don't mean your ego and your desires. I mean your awareness. Like identifying
Yeah.
with your awareness and coming into your source is the only game in town.
I love that. I love how smart you are. I wish
Get
everyone
real. I love talking to you. I don't talk this way to everybody.
you don't.
Well, I try to, but you do excite me. I love talking to you.
I know I could sit and talk to you constantly. I always do
Constant.
that with you. I love you. I wish we lived closer to each other.
I
But I
know.
am going to come out there soon. Where are you performing? What's your where's your first show?
It's this
Do you
Sunday.
remember?
Oh boy, where is it? I have it in this text. It's an outdoor venue that they have like surrounded. Excuse me, I'm burping like a weird
There's
old
loving it
man in
though.
a deli. Um,
Yeah.
it's called Supernova Comedy.
Oh, I heard
Event,
about that. I heard it's
eventbrite.com.
great.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Jeselnik's doing it. Like people I know are doing it, and Val is very good about like seeking friends and creating situations where you're social. But I got really locked into that. The way that I see my friends is I do shows. So my job is very social.
Hmm.
And you only have to work for 15 minutes. And then the rest of it is the hang and the green room and watching other people. And so that really scratched my social needs. So I'm excited to see
I know.
Anthony. I'm excited to see these people.
Yeah.
As much as doing the show, I'm excited about getting in the car and feeling that, even the butterflies in my stomach, the wonder, is this going to work? And then when it does work, there's nothing better. And then you get to
That
go,
was I cared more about seeing everybody and like driving to the gig and all of that even more than performing. I was so
yeah.
excited to see people.
Well, to be, even our neighbors have a little baby, a 1 year old baby that we hang out with, and they got fully vaxxed and we're fully vaxxed, and then you sort of like, can I do this? Like you're taking off
I know. It's
your
weird.
mask, and it doesn't feel like you, like so many things in life, it doesn't feel like you expected. You thought it was just going to be like woohoo, but you're kind of like, is this
I
okay?
know. I still feel weird.
Yeah.
I still am not like
I don't
ripping.
like that you're not wearing a mask and this is over Zoom. I don't feel great about it.
I know. I've
I
wanted to do that as a joke, but I can't. It's so corny. But I've wanted
but
to wear a mask on like a Zoom show.
hilarious.
I would never
I
do it.
I
So
did a bit. I did a Zoom show, and I pretended that my phone wouldn't unlock unless I was wearing my mask. I thought that was funny. As if it only recognizes me now if I'm wearing my
oh,
mask.
that's hilarious.
It did.
That,
I don't know. It's okay. Thank you.
I love you.
You have beautiful and full of nothing and nothing. What is it? Be like a balloon. Beautiful on the outside, nothing inside.
I love filled with nothing on the inside.
Yeah, that's
That's
good.
what I want all my daughters to be like.
That's good. I
It's all
love
that
it.
matters. I don't care if they're kind and nice. They just can't be fat.
How many? That's so funny. That is so funny.
I know.
How many kids do you really have?
I have four daughters.
You really have four.
I four daughters. One of them, the oldest, is going to be 15, and she's an actress. I have to send you a picture of her. You're not even going to believe how she's stunning. I like pick her
I'm
up,
gonna
jump around
politely
with her.
decline. I feel like
I literally
no,
walk around with
don't send me pictures of a 15-year-old and be like,
I
she's so hot.
I
Nope,
literally
pass.
walk around with her with like a trench coat and throw it on top of her. I can't.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
It's ridiculous.
I think my baby. This is another one. Talk. I know we have to go. I actually do have to
No,
go.
it's okay. But no, I know.
But
I was
one
like,
of the mythologies that I've been guilty of, I didn't realize, meaning it was unconscious. We don't have to say guilty. I was not conscious of this.
what?
One of the mythologies that we can perpetuate in our stand up is the ownership of women. And one of the ways that that shows itself is whenever I talk about how beautiful my daughter is, everyone goes like, "Uh-oh, dad." I'll just say I don't own her sexuality. Like that's hers. I do not own that. Like I know I'm supposed to be like, till she's 18, I'm gonna lock her in my dungeon. I used to have a bit about it, Jess, before I had kids. I can't believe I got it. I'm not even gonna do it, but it's so inappropriate. It was just about like have her home by 10, have her home by 10. It's like the joke was in essence, are you guys going out? Like what is going like you are you going to go to like a second date? Like cuz there's this weird energy and I had a bit about I hate my girlfriend's parents and my girlfriend's friends. And I had if you want to hear an interesting conversation about it, I had Hannah Gadsby on my podcast. And this is what I want more of. It was a gentle, she did not rebuke me. She did not shame me. She enlightened me. She literally helped me go. I don't even think she accused me. She helped me realize on my own. Oh, the undercurrent belief of that bit is once I own the woman, cutting her off from her family and friends is the most powerful thing I can do to take her over and
Yeah,
to pull her into my corporation and to pull her into my purposes. And that was an unconscious belief that I had that I didn't know. And I'm just so touched that she didn't go like, that's why you're part of the problem or whatever her
well,
accent is.
that's what we need is like just help people understand and don't get mad and judgmental and tell someone off. Just help us understand. A lot
Yeah.
of us are just clueless.
That's humbling to me because then when I see someone else that has an unconscious belief, I can't go. It's like the people that quit smoking and then immediately start judging their friends who smoke. It's like
Yeah,
that was you yesterday.
I
So
can't
I
stand
can't
that.
say like that bit actually like gently help them see and maybe they still want to do it, but like it's a good thing to know what you're doing. Just like with alcohol. Drink alcohol but know what's happening or do a bit that might be a little bit cheeky, but know what you're selling. Know what you're
Yeah,
selling. Because we're
yeah,
impressionable. Human
yeah.
beings. All right, Jesse, I do
I
have to go.
love you.
I
I
love you
appreciate
too.
you so much. Thank you for working me on this. Sorry I was late. You're the best.
You're
I
silly.
really adore you. I'm
I
not
adore
kidding.
you
I
too.
don't I like a lot of
I
people.
feel like we're like I don't even know if I believe this, but I'm like past life friends.
I
I'm just like,
know.
oh yeah, I found you. Oh shit, I found you. That's
I
fun.
feel this comfort with you. Like I just adore you. You're
Yeah,
such a good person and
you're
you're
like the
brilliant.
sister I wish I had. Like my
Well, you
really
have me.
like a
I'm always
super
here for
close.
you.
Yeah,
I
I
love you.
appreciate it. I love
I
you
want
too.
to hear
Thank you.
how the show goes because it's I can't
Yeah,
wait to hear how it went. So let me know.
yeah. Well,
And
you should feel the shockwaves in New York, like the laughs that
we're all
that
gonna hear
will
we're
rumble
gonna hear the
into.
laughter.
Yeah, you'll know. You'll see it trending.
I love it.
Holmes returns is trending.
I know. I'm so grateful that you're doing this because people are gonna love this episode with you. You're just so real, and this is what this podcast is about being deep and real and funny. And it. Thank
Well,
you
I'm
so
glad you're
much.
doing it. Thanks
I
for
love
having me.
you.
I love
All
you
right,
too.
good. We'll
Talk
talk
soon.
soon.
Okay,
Bye.
bye bye.
Bye.